Namo Orientanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayodhyanam, Namo Vajjanam, Namo Loye Savusahanam. Yesu Panchanamukkaro, Sivapavakan, Sunu Mangalanam, Sabvesim, Padamam, Bhavai Mangalam. Jaitu Nityam Paramopkari Shri Gurudev. Jaitu Nityam Paramopkari Shri Gurudev. Jaitu Nityam Paramopkari Shri Gurudev. Darshanam Deva Devasya Darshanam Papanashanam Darshanam Swargasopanam Darshanam Mokshasadhanam. Sorry, take the Manglik that we took, Manglacharan that we took last time. Aradhan no muljas atam bhavache tine na pache atma na padmahi. So during last week, I think it was last week or maybe week before that, we had that Napad Q&A session, and a few of you were interested in having follow-ons or their sessions. So we have scheduled 3 sessions starting from today. So this Friday, next Friday, and the following Friday, unless we change. Right now, the goal intent is not to change. So 8 to 9 p.m. for 3 Fridays, including today. And somebody selected the topic to be Samyag Darshan Gyaan Chaaritra. Although last time also I had mentioned that we would like to make it interactive. So whatever questions you have, we can take those, and that way, so I don't have any slides or any material that we have presented, we have prepared as such. So it's all yours.
I think Amita had a question just before we started. Amita, do you want to just tell us your question so that everyone else also hears it?
Yeah, my question was that कि हम लोग दर्शन ज्ञान और चारित्र का इतना, I know the importance of darshan, gyan and charitra. That 3 can help us to attain moksha or whatever, but why tap is important? तप को यहाँ क्यों इम्पोर्टेंस देते हैं? दर्शन अगर अच्छा है, चारित्र अच्छा, तो why is तप important? What does तप does?
So in order to fully understand that, so actually, in a way, one answer would be, so like for example, in Tatvar Sutra, the very first katha of Tatvar Sutra says Samyak Darshan Gyaan Charitrani Moksha Marga, meaning the path to moksha is of some consists of the combination of Samyak Darshan Gyaan Charitra. So there is no mention of tap. In Napad, we have the 5 Panchparmeshti, and then in addition to that, we have Samyak Darshan Gyaan Charitra and tap. So wherever tap is not mentioned, it is to be considered as part of Charitra. So some Charitra mein tap automatically aa jata hai, and where tap is mentioned separately to highlight its significance, then tap is separate. But what exactly is tap? That is still a question. And before we maybe go to, so typically we consider tap to be
moksha.
Considered to be tap.
Moksha.
नहीं, तप तो मोक्ष नहीं है ना. तप, what is तप? Tap can take us to moksha, but what is so? Tap, this is also from Tatvar Sutra, tapsa fal nirjara, meaning tap will help us get, tap helps with nirjara. Tap leads to nirjara. So, and nirjara would lead to moksha. Nirjara of karma. So everybody understand, right? What is nirjara is whatever karmic particles we have already bounded. So they are already on, for example, my soul. Then to get rid of them before they come into fruition and they give their effect, that is nirjara. Yeah, Rakesh, you wanted to say something? You unmuted, so I was wondering if you wanted to say. That's fine. So that is nirjara. So therefore nirjara would lead to moksha, and therefore since tap is the root cause, tap is the main way to do nirjara, so therefore tap leads to moksha. But what is tap? That is the question. So typically when we say tap, we have this thing in mind, right? Like Paryushan mein jo 28 karte hai, those people are considered to be tapasvi, or people who do Attham 3 upvas during Paryushan, or 8 upvas, or more than 8 upvas. And on a side note, seems like every 5 years or every decade, the standards are getting higher and higher, meaning 20 years back, 25 years back, few people were doing Atthai. So Atthai was considered to be relatively a big undertaking, a big deal, a big achievement, I should say, not a big deal, but big achievement. But now Atthai has become somewhat common, like many people do it. So because so many people are doing it, therefore it's not highlighted as much. Now Mashak Shaman, or 30-day upvas, 30 days upvas, is taken kind of the place of Atthai. So somewhat interestingly, the bar for, so all of these stuff, they are considered to be, there are 12 types of tap. And the taps that we just talked about, right? So upvas, so tap related to food, restricting the number of meals. So whether it's restricting one meal, such as Ekashnam meal, whether it's restricting 2 meals, such as upvas, and then higher quantities of upvas, all of that falls in the category of anshan. That is one type of tap. There are 12 types of tap, and this is the 12 types of tap are further divided into 2 types. They are called internal tap and external tap, or bahya tap and abhyantar tap. So the main tap are the internal ones, and when even with the internal tap, the main goal of the internal tap is to have focus, is to have upyog within oneself. So the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of enjoyment, the feeling of happiness or bliss or anand that one gets when one is fully focused within one's own true nature, within oneself, that is the how should I put, nischay, or highest definition of tap. So that is the tap in the truest sense. समझ में आ रहा है? Is it, if this did not make sense, then ask me question or stop me. दीदी, so ये तप का ये डेफिनेशन है कि जब जीव अपने अंदर रहे, माने के जीव का उपयोग, मीनिंग के लाइक the way we function, right? The way all living beings function is through upyog. Upyog, we can translate upyog to like awareness, focus, concentration, but it's basically no, it's it's comes from knowledge. So use of knowledge, Gyaan ka, and again, knowledge also, we use it very loosely. So, so here, Gyaan is a quality of Atma. Gyaan is quality of, is our quality. And if we use Gyaan to know the Gnaya, if we use Gyaan to know the knower, so if knowledge is used to know the knower, then the experience is of utmost happiness. So that is called tap. It's exactly 180 degrees opposite of how our typical experience would be, right? Meaning when somebody cooks our favorite dish and we eat it, and when we are enjoying it, right? So that is enjoyment for us, or at least for me, maybe not for all of you. So this is exactly opposite of that. But that's the true enjoyment, and that is tap. So then all the 12 types of tap lead to this state. So tap helps us to get to this state. And in that, as we said before, the taps are divided into two parts. So the internal tap are more closer to this state, and external tap helps us to get to the internal tap. So
Okay.
external tap is the tap of, for example, Aimbil or Upvas. So that should lead to internal tap, which is Vinay, Vayavach, Prayashchit. So those are the first three triad of the internal tap. And Vinay, Vayavach, and Prayashchit leads to Swadhyay. So Swadhyay is the fourth. And Swadhyay is basically connected with knowing oneself better and better, right? Getting a better understanding of one's true self. So when one gets true understanding of oneself, then one is inclined to stay more in self. So that is called Dhyan. And then when Dhyan catches more and more intensity, then even the body is forgotten. Right? So that is called Kayotsar. And then Kayotsar leads to what we talked about earlier. So that is tap.
How is that related to Samyag and Darshan?
एक क्वेश्चन है यहाँ पर ही,
हाँ,
कितना एक्सटर्नल तप करने के बाद हमको ये इंटरनल तप का भाव मिलेगा, या उसका हमको आई विल कम टू नो दैट ये इंटरनल तप का रास्ता है, या ये इंटरनल तप मेरे अंदर आ रहा है. हाउ डू वी डिफरेंशिएट? हमको कब कब मालूम पड़ेगा ये बात? ऐसा कितना तप करने से?
So it's, your question sounds somewhat similar to कि कितनी रातें सोने के बाद
हाँ,
आपको
सवेरा
जागने का
होगा.
भाव आएगा.
हाँ.
Right? So I'm kind of making it a little bit funny, but so this is all based on understanding, right? So agar if we do, and most of, and that is kind of our past, and for most, maybe like not for people who are joining here, but even for the majority of so-called Jains, even the present is like that, right? Meaning we do a lot of activities in the name of Dharam with very little or no understanding of what those are. So till the time that somebody continues doing, let's say, Attham, 3 tap, because that is three upas, because that is considered to be part of a Shravak's Paryushan Kartavya. So responsibility of Shravak as part of the Paryushan. So like, So if somebody keeps on doing every Paryushan, they do Attam, 3 upas, but they never pause to think about why I'm doing this, or how will this benefit me, or what is the purpose, then they can keep on doing that for their entire lifetime, and they will never progress anywhere close to the internal thought. So that's why Swadhyay, which is one part of the internal thought. So again, Swadhyay can be thought of at various levels, but the most primitive, the most basic kindergarten level of Swadhyay is to develop our understanding of Dharma by either reading dharmic books, by reading scriptures, reading religious books, or by listening to Guru Maharaj Sahib, Mother Maharaj Sahib's, the discourses and vachnas, or by discussing between a group, like how we are doing right now. So the basic idea is that when we have understanding, then that understanding could lead us to go more towards the true tap, the internal tap. And that is not just so tap, because the question started from tap, so we are talking about tap, but this can be extended to everything, right? All parts of dharma, because ultimately the ultimate goal of dharma, and actually this is what we were kind of discussing yesterday, that why do we do dharma? What are the reasons, or what could be the reasons why people do dharma? So anybody wants to mention, why do you or I do dharma, or why do people do dharma? What are the motivators? What, like, so we can see that, right? Like there are 10 of us, 11 of us on here, but majority of people are probably watching TV or having Friday happy hours parties. So majority of people are not even interested in doing anything that can be called as dharma. But even the people that are doing, what could be the reasons?
Is it self-reflection?
Okay, that's that's very good. If that is the that would be the reason. Why would you? So I'll ask you why. So this is pretty easy to understand, right? That nobody would like or feel interested to do something unless they see some gain out of that, right? All of our activities we do. I go to job because I see that after 2 weeks I'm going to get a paycheck, right? So that is one reason to motivate myself every day to go to work. So why would if you are doing dharma for self-reflection, then what is the benefit that you see out of that? Any benefits, or it just it feels pretty cool to say I'm doing dharma because of self-reflection?
In simple terms, it is, I mean, just in literal terms, it's just to have peace of mind.
Okay, that's good. Right. Okay. So if we take it further down, meaning like think about typical in India or even here, right? Somebody, our friends tell us that, hey, I'm going to temple today. Do you want to come along with me? So, and in fact, some of you may even know in Statra Puja, The last tal of Snatra Puja, Atam Bhakti Madhya Ke Deva, Keta Mit Anujai, Nari Prerya Vadi Nija Kulvat, Dharmi Dharma Sakai. So even there they are saying that a lot of devs come for the Meru Abhishek of Bhagwan, either because of their Nari Prerya, so either because their Devis, their wives, have inspired them or have told them, hey, come along with me, or because of friends, or because of Kulvat, because that's their responsibility as a Dev or Kulachar, right? So because that's a tradition of Dev. So one thing that Gurudev Shri had asked several times is that, are we going to a Jain temple because we are born as Jain? And if I was born as a Muslim, would I have gone to a mosque? So it's kind of a deep and somewhat shattering question also, because if I think about myself, there is no strong reason, right? At least as growing up, there was no strong reason for me to go to the temple other than the fact that my mom would say that, hey, you need to go, and I'm not going to give you anything to eat until you go and do puja. So till almost 9th or 10th grade, that was the only reason why I would go to the temple.
Yeah.
So majority of us are, so that would be the reason. And then my take is that unless at some point somebody starts, so like I actually literally had that, like in, I think when my first year of college, or maybe it was a couple of years after that, I don't remember exact time right now, but I was like, hey, I don't know why I'm doing puja. So therefore I stopped doing puja. And that was the state of affairs for I don't know how many years, couple of years, I think, because I was like, hey, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why I'm doing this. So why do something if I don't know? So the point is that majority of us, so unless somebody like Bharti ji, like you mentioned, if somebody takes a pause and somebody reflects upon that, hey, I'm doing this, but why I'm doing this? And sometimes what happens is that when you do something, it becomes a habit, and it becomes so ingrained within our daily activity that if we don't do it, then we miss it, right? We feel like, hey, something is missing. So just out of sheer habit, we would do it. So if I have a habit to like get up and do darshan of Bhagwan, or to say 3 Naukar or 12 Naukar, then I would just do it and not even think about it. So sometimes, even though it's a good habit, but the habit, if it stays just at the habit level, it does not benefit as much. It doesn't take us further. It's just, hey, because I feel good about doing it, I'm doing it. So majority of us, maybe I should not use the word us, but majority of people do dharma either because of habit or because of, and here in US we can see, right, like people are, the social aspect is also pretty strong. We usually don't get to see that many Indians during the weekdays. So on Sunday, not only we can meet and chit chat with fellow Jains or fellow Indians, and then sometimes there is also incentive of lunch or dinner. So both that combined is good enough reason to go to temple. So all these are not by some way of looking at it, right? By if one looks at it a little bit with a more discerning eye or more tighter standards, then these are not really dharam, right? You cannot call these activities, even though somebody is going to temple, and even though somebody is doing puja, even though but the intention part is missing. So intention is pretty strong. Intention is a strong factor. Unless the intention is there, all of these activities, even though from outside they look like they are part of dharam, but they are not really dharam. And the intention is very, very tightly connected with the word Samyag. So we said the session is going to be on Samyag Darshan, Samyag Gyaan, Samyag Chaaritra. So what does the word Samyag means? So one hint for that is the intention is connected with the word Samyag.
Does Anish have a question? He has unmuted. Just wondering.
No, yeah. I just wanted to say that I thought like the primary reason of dharam
Mhm.
is like, I mean, if you think about it, we only think about dharam because we have so many problems.
Mhm.
If our life was perfect, there would be no point of dharam.
Right.
So the point of dharam is to get rid of suffering. That's all. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. Anurag, if you can mute. I think that was coming from your side. Yeah, so actually that was the third reason I was going to come to. So a lot of people, after the first two reasons, if we were to graduate from the first two reasons, then the third reason would be we do dharam because of some sort of fear within us that, hey, if I don't do dharam, then something bad would happen to me. So I'm kind of Anish, you put it maybe a little bit more elegantly, and if you are not trying to convey the same thing that I'm saying, then you can chime in again. But if I have developed enough of faith to say that, hey, if I hurt somebody, then so action and reaction, right? So action reaction laws. So the understanding of a karma at a very, very basic level, right? Saying, hey, if I or tit for tat kind of thing. So if I do something nasty to somebody, then something nasty will happen to me. So, and then extending that to say that, hey, if I go to temple every day, then Bhagwan will protect me, and therefore I will. So while that part is true, but the next part that I'm just about to say, right? So Bhagwan will protect me can mean very different things to different people. And typically, if it means that I would not have any major suffering, meaning physical suffering, meaning my body would be healthy. I would not have any mental suffering, meaning my spouse, my family, parents, they would all behave nicely with me. I would not have any financial suffering, meaning I would get enough money and more to survive and thrive and donate and get a good name and fame, right? So all of that is still so those could be reasons for doing dharma, but and they also so coincidentally so we can say doing dharam for sukh in this bhav, or doing dharam for sukh, happiness in the next bhav. So those both of them. So the word sukh itself, our definition of sukh is basically how I mentioned earlier, meaning no physical suffering, no mental suffering, no financial suffering, no emotional suffering. The problem with that is, anybody wants to say what is is there anything wrong with doing this? So there are the types of anushthan there are 4 or 5 types of Anushthan, and the first two are in this category, like some Alok Mate, Parlok Mate, or I'm getting the exact term. Yeah, anyways, so but the gist of it is that thank you. Yeah, Vish Anushthan and Garal Anushthan. So those are with this kind of intention. So the question now is there anything wrong with that, or what is wrong with that? And I don't know, is this what, Anish, you had in mind, or you had something? Your concept of suffering is a little bit different from what I mentioned.
No, I mean, I think it's the same, like along the same lines.
Okay. So what could be a different understanding of suffering? And it's not just Anish, anybody can take an attempt at that. Huh?
You asked the first question, what is wrong with all of the
Yeah, so it's similar. Yeah, stated another way, what could be a different understanding of suffering? So the hint is, this is people who are who go to temple on Sunday and participate in puja. After each, in the Ashprakari puja, after each puja we say a doha, and in the doha we use 3 words to as adjectives for describing Bhagwan. Janma Jara Mrityu Nivaranaye. That familiar to anybody or to everybody? Nobody? I'm sure it's Om Rim Shiv Parmeshwaraya Janma Jara Mrityu Nivaranaya Srimate Jinendraya, and then depending on what, Pushpam Puja Swaha or Akshat Puja Swaha or Fal Puja Swaha. So that is so according to Bhagwan, according to the Jnani Purush, the suffering is this: suffering of birth, suffering of old age, and the helplessness associated with old age, the dependencies, and then finally the death. So if somebody does dharma with the intention of, so even though it's kind of nicely woven in all of the dharmic activities that we do, like even in puja, we say it, if we do 8 types of puja, we would say this dua at least 8 times. But even then, we don't, most of the times, we don't consciously think about what does this mean. So we talked about intention, right? So majority, and it's been said that this is not the first time that we are born as human beings. This is not the first time that we are even born as Jain. This is not the first time that we are even doing dharam. We have done lots and lots and lots of shubh or good activities that would be typically classified as dharam in our past. But even then, because the samyak part was missing, therefore they did not benefit us a whole lot. So in Samyak Darshan Gyaan Chaaritra Tap, the Samyak word is very, very important. So first we need to understand that before we can even understand what Darshan Gyaan Charitra. And I already talked about Tap, but even for the Tap that we talked about, right? So the intention, why I am doing this, that is the most important thing. And then I kind of mentioned that before in one of the examples. So a lot of people would do, especially the type of dharam where one can get fame. So mostly the dan dharam. Right? So a lot of people would donate a lot of money, and then when people tell them that, hey, you have a generous heart, you are a great donor, that becomes part of their identity. So then they think of themselves. So that's the last kind of, if we think in terms of advancing, the most basic reason for doing dharam to the somewhat advanced, and all of these would fall in the wrong or asamyak, opposite of samyak categories of doing dharam. Is it too harsh, or does it make sense? So even though this might sound really harsh, and in some sense it is harsh because we have done a lot of dharam, like I just mentioned, and now not in our past life, not even in this life, but the intent part was missing. So therefore, it would not be called dharam, or it would be dharam with question mark.
So what is the benefit of Samyag? If you can elaborate a little bit more on that. So, you said that, okay, all of these things, the way that we have been doing dharam has not been Samyag. So what is it that how will it benefit us to have?
So Samyakva, we'll define Samyakva as true intention. And what would be the true intention of doing dharam? So in order to understand that, simple question is, what is dharam? Now again, there are many answers to it, but if somebody wants to say what is dharam? So when we talk about dharam, right? So all the activities that are labeled as dharam, those are dharmic kriya, or those are dharmic activities, right? They are religious activities, or even if you want to take one step further, spiritual activities, but they are not. So dharam literally means nature. So dharam, what is my dharam? Meaning, what is my nature? What is my true nature? So anything that can, and therefore the very nice, for those of you who have been to India or have spent some time in India, it's very remarkable that when Mara Sahib comes to our house for Gochri, the word that they use is dharmalabh. They are wishing that we get the labh, we gain dharam. And if one takes that, the meaning of dharam there, again, to be that we go closer and closer to our true nature, and we fully manifest our true nature. So that's what Bhagwan has done. Bhagwan has truly manifested his or her own nature, and that's what dharam is. So all the activities that we are doing, starting from darshan to puja to upvas, ambil, ekashna, attham, atthai, all the bahya or external tap, to activities such as this, the basic understanding, swadhyay, and even dhyan and kayotsav, all of these are so that we can go closer to our true nature. That should be our goal. But that can happen only if, so that's kind of a lofty goal, and it may even sound like very remote and very abstract, and one may not even feel connected with it. So does anybody feel that way, the way I just described? Meaning, like, can you connect with this, that dharam is my true nature, and all these activities are to lead to my true nature? So I'm going to ask again the similar question that I had asked Bharti ji earlier, that if I accept that hey, Dharam is my true nature, then how does that benefit me? Right? That question should come. Because unless intrinsic motivation would not come, unless we buy into this, right? Unless we see and we'll buy into this concept when we see some advantage for me in it. So how does Dharam, if we define Dharam as our true nature, how does that help me? Does it help me in any way? Will it help me for those of you who are studying? Will it help you graduate faster? For those of you who are in the first or second job of your career, will it help you to go to the next level of your career? For those of you who are with young kids, will it help you become better parent? For those of you who are with older kids, will it help you get better in-laws? What is it that Dharam will? What is it that getting closer to one's true nature will help us? Yeah, Anish.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a basic sense, any type of tapasya or austerity, it's going to shed karma, or stop karma, like samvar or nirjara. So that will, if not, maybe not in the short term, but long term, over the period of a few lives, it's going to lessen the suffering. Like if you do a lot of tapasya, then you might go to like Devlok and have to suffer less. And then
I
maybe
think
afterwards you go back to Manusha Lok and become and attain like and get like diksha and then eventually moksha. So
yeah. So what you describe is kind of don't get offended. I don't mean to sound rude or anything, but that's the understanding that we typically get at a basic level, right? By reading books or by listening to some of the Vyakhyanas. So I don't know if you joined a little bit late. I think you may have joined a little bit late. So we started with the question of how is tap different from Samyag, Darshan, Gyaan, Chaaritra? And so we describe what tap is, but what you said, so while that is 100% true, the problem with that is there are a lot of conditions attached to it, meaning, and just going to paraphrase what I said at the beginning. So unless one does, and I kind of even mentioned before, just a few minutes back too, right? So it comes back to the intent. So unless somebody does tapasya with the intention to get closer to their true nature or the intention to manifest their true nature, then all it will do is going to buy us like a free ticket to Devlok with passport and visa. So we'll get to visit Devlok and then we'll be back in this cycle of birth and death and suffering. One thing that maybe perhaps most of you or some of you may know is that Devlok is not a desirable place to go unless you have Samyaktva with you. Unless you have the right perspective, unless you have the right intention, unless you have the right drashti or right vision, majority of devs, after their life in dev form, after their life in heavenly form is over, are born as one sensed living being. So it's when one is born as a one sense living being, then it takes several lifetimes to come back to a five sense living being. So it's kind of not a good bargain. The amount of time, so the lifespans in Devlok are kind of high, But even then, even if one spends, for example, let's say 1,000,000 years in there, but then after that, they will have to spend billions and billions of years as 1 sense, 2 sense, 3 sense, 4 sense before even they can get human life. Because all of this is in the presence of delusion. All of this is in the presence of mithyatva. So the mithyatvi devs are 99.9%. I think they even use the word niyama. Niyama meaning by default, they are born as one sense living being after their dev ayushya is over. Somebody had a hand raised. Moksha?
I was saying that, like, you were asking about true nature. What I understand from the true nature is that Dharam brings us to the point that we understand that our body is temporary. What ultimately we should do is about our soul. So we are in this body, in this world for one life for now, and now I have opportunity to do Dharam, to understand my true nature, so I can do something for my soul and 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 get out of this innumerable cycle of what you call Padgal Pravatna, or the cycles of birth and death. Like, this is what I understand by true nature of Dharam.
So we are almost at 51 minutes, but maybe hopefully this will be this is something that we can all take away if it impacts us. Meaning, so most of us use the same phraseology, and I'm not trying to pick on what Moksha said, but the understanding is also like that, right? So I want to do something good for my soul. I did not catch maybe exactly what you said before, but I am honing in on the usage of my soul. So is it same as I want to do something good for my shirt, like my shirt is dirty and I want to wash it, like get a stain remover and maybe iron it and make it look like brand new. Do you get my point, Moksha? And anybody else can chime in too. When we speak of the I have a big problem, and so again, I'm not just literally pointing at the way you use the words, but because we think of it as like, hey, this is my body, and there is an entity called my soul. Did you follow, Moksha, the drift of where I'm going?
Little bit.
Little bit. Okay. So to make it more explicit, is there a distinction? So is there a distinction between my shirt and my body? Yes or no? It's a simple yes no. Is there a distinction between my body and my soul? Simple, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, right? But my body is. So now the last question, is there a distinction between my soul and me?
It's tricky.
Huh?
Tricky
Yes.
one, but there is no distinction, but that it takes time to understand.
No, so let's take that as a takeaway from today's 53 minutes so far that we have spent here. That as long as we keep addressing the soul as a third person, or if you use my maybe second person, it's going to be different. We are creating a distance between ourselves. We are creating a distance between between ourselves and our true nature. And because we are doing that, how will we ever get to our true nature, right? If we always think of our true nature as something that is remote from ourselves, something that is at a distance from ourselves. So whenever we said कि भाई ये धर्म तो मुझे मेरी आत्मा के लिए करना है, ये धर्म मुझे मेरे इसके लिए, there is no such thing like that, right? ये आत्मा equals soul equals true nature equals me. equals I. That is the most, unless we can connect with that in this fashion, we would always consider soul to be an external entity to us, and therefore different from us, and therefore remote from us, and therefore all that we would do is not going to take us closer to our true nature.
But we are not in the pure form yet. So I think that mental distinction could come because we
Okay.
are not Bhagwan yet.
So maybe, I don't know if, again, so this is going to be my attempt to give a second takeaway. So I was just thinking, nobody asked me that question a couple of weeks back when we did the Napat Q&A, that I had used, maybe there was a question like, why should we do darshan, or what is it that darshan? And I just had mentioned that when we do darshan, when we look at Bhagwan, we are looking at our own future. Does anybody remember? Or hopefully everybody remembers that. Or even if you don't remember, does it make sense? Right? When we go to temple, or even at our home temple, or even anywhere, right? When you look at Bhagwan, Bhagwan is our own future, meaning like we too aspire to become Bhagwan. We too aspire to become as pure as Bhagwan, and therefore he's our future. So far, so good? Or anybody has problems with that or questions with that? Because that was more like I was trying to lay the foundation, and the thing that I wanted to convey was that nobody asked me like, hey, why are you telling us to worry about our future? What about our present? So it actually acts in both ways. So Bhagwan is our manifested future, but Bhagwan is also our latent present. If that terminology sounded a little bit weird to you, so I don't know if you were right. So when I look at Bhagwan, when we do darshan of Bhagwan, Bhagwan reminds us of who I am, and that who I am is with me right now. So it's not like that who I am will be with me at some future state when I get rid of all, when I do a lot of stuff and I do nirjara, get rid of all the karmas and do samvar, so new karmas are not coming, and then I finally attain moksha, and then from somewhere somebody gives me a pure soul, and then I become that pure soul. It's not like that, right? So just like the analogies, there are several analogies that are given in the scriptures. The one that comes to mind right now is just like when we extract a piece of gold from a mine or a diamond from a mine, right? There is a lot of dirt and other impurities associated with it. But anybody that is smart, anybody that is intelligent, anybody that is that has some sense would look at the potential, right? Would look, hey, I have this big piece of stone, it's gold. I just need to get rid of the impurities that are around it, right? So the process of whatever, I don't know what it's called, purification. That's actually the same word for our own process. But anyway, tap is what I was looking for, but that's leaving that aside. So basically the process of purification to get rid of all the impurities. But that process of purification happens only if somebody sees a piece of gold in that. Right? If they just think of this, hey, this is just a piece of stone, then they are not going to bother to do anything after that. Right? They might even throw away this. And a lot of our sajjais mentioned that Manushya no dharam, hira jevo Manushya no dharam. Like if a bird is sitting outside my house and I don't like it, then I will throw a stone. So similarly, we are throwing Chintamani Ratna to shy away, to scare away a bird. So our true nature is within us, and that's so I'm going to conclude in a minute, hopefully. In our Navtattva class that we do with a couple of folks here, like young students, I had told them last time that now, so we had come to pretty much similar conclusion, but in a simpler language so that they can relate with it. But basically, the problem with this now is that what stops us from considering or thinking of ourselves as our true nature is because our experiences are contradictory to it. Like none of our experiences are something that can take us directly or that can reinforce this concept. So that's where the difficulty comes in, and that leads to the first part. So Samyak Darshan, the first way to think about Samyak Darshan is Shraddha or faith in Dev Guru Dharma. So that accepting that hey, even though my experience is contrary to what Bhagwan is saying, I will, for lack of a better way, I'm going to state it this way. I'm going to give benefit of doubt to Dev, Guru, and Dharma. And I will say, hey, maybe they are right. And even though my experience is contrary, so every time I have a contrary experience, which is pretty much the whole day, I will remind myself that, hey, even though my mind is telling me that I am enjoying this pleasure of senses, Bhagwan is saying that no, you cannot enjoy. There is no concept of happiness. There's no concept of bliss in the external objects. Is this making sense, or am I going into abstract or far out there land? So this is the one problem of having on Zoom, right? Because I can't see anybody, so I cannot conclude or I cannot make any inferences. So hopefully this is somewhat, and if you cannot, then send questions, ask us more questions. We can take it next time. If anybody has any last questions, we can spend maybe another couple of minutes, but that's pretty much, we are 2 minutes past our 9 o'clock time. Anything else you want to add?
I think what you called about is Chinta Jnana that you are referring to. Like first you have something that you know. The second Jnana is something you try to think more about it. Now we are thinking more about our true nature. Like we are same thing. We are not different. Now the third Jnana is to feel it, Anubhav or other name you call it. That's
Very
the
nice.
that's the lacking part here. Like I understand what you are saying, and we have been like hearing about this thing from childhood. It's the same thing, but without third, the first one is useless. First two are useless, and that's the missing or big missing part. Third one.
Right. Very good. That's very. I'm very happy you made that connection. So now the important thing though is that the path to third is through first and second. So it's not like first and second are useless. First and second become useless because we never even focus on third as our goal. So experience or Anubhav Gyaan is our goal. That's where we want to reach. But we don't, like I mentioned in the beginning, right? A lot of us do tap, a lot of us do a lot of dharam, and a lot of us have done a lot of dharam in the past. But the goal of that dharam was not Anubhav Gyaan. So all the activities that are given, like everything that we do, Darshan, Puja, Samayik, Pratikavan, Uppas, Ambil, all of these are nice anushtans that are given by Bhagwan, that are given by Jnanis. And all of them have the potential, but we have to leverage them in the right way. And since our intent is not to get to the Anubhav Jnana, therefore, the first two level of Jnana, so whatever we talked about right now, or whatever you would get from books, that is the first level of Jnana. And then we have to do reflection upon it, but reflection with this end goal in mind. It reflection with some awareness of who I am, if that makes sense. Any other questions from anybody else? Or from Moksha, if you have more. Okay. So if I said anything against Chaitanya, due to my lack of understanding, or awareness, then Michhami Duklam. Shimastu sarva jagatah parahiti nirta bhavantu bhutagana dosha prayantu nasham sarvatra sukhi bhavatu loka mangalam bhagwan viro mangalam gautama prabhu mangalam sthuli bhadradhya jaino dharmostu mangalam mangalam bhagwan viro mangalam gautamo gani mangalam kunda kundadhya jaina dharmostu mangalam sarva mangal mangalyam sarva kalyana karanam pradhanam sarva dharmanam jainam jaiti sashanam. Jai Jinendra, everyone. And we will talk to you again next Friday, same time. If you have
Jai
any
Jinendra.
questions, post on the group. Thank you. Bye.
Jai
Jai Indra, thank you.